Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined by Sean Keenan.
Welcome back, Heidi.
And, of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, but you can call me Prickly Castiglione this week.
Keeping him undercover there, everybody. Welcome back to another year of Hero Movie Podcast. It is 2018. Feeling good. We're all wanting to go and just, make it the best darn year that we possibly can. And we decided to start this year off by kind of, getting into some unfinished business here. And reviewing this second half of The Punisher on Netflix. Marvel's The Punishers, if you want to, get into the supreme correct name of it all. And we'll be doing that, man. And, of course, as with these things and everything, I always want to say this when we're starting, like a series like this or a new year and everything. We do spoilerize just about everything from the get-of-go. So if you haven't seen the full season of The Punisher, you may want to watch those before you listen to this episode. But if you have or don't care about spoils, hey, man, stick around. It's going to be a darn good time. And you know what else is a good time? When people go over to iTunes there and drop us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
And this one comes to us from Brian R1066. I think that's his model number.
I like it.
And it's entitled Awesome
Battle of Hastings, man, 1066.
Okay.
Bayou Tapestry.
This is why we have him around, for just stuff like this where you're just like, what? Okay, all right, that's Bruce for you, boy. It's entitled Awesome Show, 5 stars. Very entertaining with impressive knowledge each and every show. Thanks for making my daily drive entertaining. No, thank you for making our show entertaining. To make for you, Brian R1066. We really appreciate that. And, of course, we appreciate anybody who goes down to iTunes, drops us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
Ooh, it was like on a secret mission there or something. I don't know what was going on, but you know what? I like it. Speaking of things that we like, let's go ahead and take a listen to the trailer for Marvel's The Punisher.
Gentlemen, I'm the only authority you will need. I point, you shoot. Did you kill the target?
What you see? Things over there were different. What we were doing was wrong.
You did what you were supposed to do, right? Now, the only person you're punishing is yourself.
Frank Castle? I got something I need to show you.
I saw the video files.
The U.S. military
Turned you into a hitman, Frank.
I'm looking for Frank Castle.
The Punisher.
I think you know about my case.
Castle's the last witness. We can either clean this up or let him take us down.
They killed my family to get to me. You have nothing but a war inside you. You're gonna pay. You stay out of my way. This is not your fight. I need to find these bastards. I gotta kill them.
So where does that end, Frank? What if you're exposed to him?
These men, they decide what the truth is.
The same thing that happened to you happened to me. We could make that right. The world needs to see the truth.
Alrighty, that was the trailer for The Punisher. Remember, this is going to be the second half of the first season of The Punisher on Netflix. And, hey, man, We've already been told that there's going to be a Punisher season 2, so something must have gone right somewhere. Here's the IMDb plotline. After the murder of his family, Marine veteran Frank Castle becomes a vigilante known as the Punisher with only one goal in mind, to avenge them. Now, we've covered the Punisher on HMP several times now, so it always makes me curious as to where he's going to go with it, but he's super smart how he does it. Let's get it going, man. Oh, come on, guy. There it is. Bruce, what do you got for us this week?
Well, Billy the Beaut Russo, also known as Jigsaw, and not to be confused with Tobin Bell's character from Saw, was created by Len Wein and Ross Andru and first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man number 162. Jigsaw is considered the arch enemy of Punisher, so it makes perfect sense he would appear in this show. Now, Jigsaw's origin was detailed in issues 3 and 4 of the prequel limited series, The Punisher Year 1. I wonder where they got the idea for that title. Well, anyway, Billy Russo was born in an Italian-American family, kicked out and abandoned as an orphan by his abusive father at the age of 10. He went on to become a hitman for New York's Italian criminal underworld, where his good looks garnered him the nickname The Beaut. Now, I feel like we could use a few details to fill in the blanks from when he got kicked out of the house at age 10 to when he became a hitman for the mob, but that's all I've got at the moment. Now, just in case simply being a mob hitman wasn't enough to make it clear he's a bad guy, well, he got married, he had a kid, then he proceeded to beat both of them on a regular basis. Do you need more to convince you that this guy's no good? Well, he once forced his son to drown some kittens, and that's about as low as it gets. Now, puppies I could understand, but kittens, that's just uncalled for. Now, after the botched gangland execution that inadvertently led to the Castle family being massacred, Russo is hired by Frank Costa to assassinate all those connected to the Castles. Russo kills all of his targets, with the exception, of course, of Frank Castle, who survives the bomb that Russo had planted in Frank's house. A few hours later, the Punisher tracks Russo down to a mafia nightclub, but because it's Marvel, they call them Magia instead of Mafia. But the Punisher guns down all of Russo's associates, but he leaves him alive to send a message to organized crime. But of course, before he does that, he knocks him through a glass pane, and that reduces Russo's once beautiful face to a jigsaw puzzle-like mess of scars. You see, he was beautiful, so the Punisher messed up his face to take that away from him. This is how comic books and marriage works. Wait, don't tell anybody I said that second part. Back to Jigsaw. The formerly handsome gangster attempted to frame the Punisher for murder. However, the plan fails due to the intervention of Spider-Man and Nightcrawler. Spider-Man witnesses one of Jigsaw's murders, and one of his victims is an old friend of Nightcrawler. Wouldn't this show have been cool if out of nowhere, Alan Cummings' Nightcrawler had shown up to give Frank an alibi? That's what I like about comics. Now, one time, Jigsaw drugged the Punisher, causing him to behave erratically and attack any criminals, even for something as minor as littering. And I think that could have been a fun episode. Also, I want to know, what drug exactly does one use for that effect? It could lead to an epic April Fool's Day joke at your local hospital. Well, back to the story. At one point, the Punisher is sentenced to death, and Jigsaw dons his own stylized copy of the Punisher costume and embarks on a homicidal rampage, targeting all those connected to Frank Castle's execution. When the Punisher is revealed to still be alive, well, Jigsaw is so overjoyed that he attempts to kill him. The Punisher overpowers him, and this makes him almost as loony as the Joker, the way this works. Now, in Punisher War Journal, Jigsaw started wearing a costume like Punisher's, only it's white with a black skull on it. You know, inverted colors, because they are opposites. I find it interesting that the villain wears white in this scenario, but not interesting enough to discuss it further. Now, later, Jigsaw teams up with former friend of Frank and fellow disfigured villain Stuart Clark to create the Jigsaw Brothers, who I could swear were a WCW tag team in 1991. Now, at one point, and I promise you this is not some stupid joke, but Jigsaw was involved in a scandal where pictures were discovered of him and Spider-Man enjoying ice cream cones together, and I miss those carefree days of ice cream-themed conspiracy. So, I suppose in summary, I just want to make it clear that Jigsaw's the arch nemesis of the Punisher, so it makes sense that we should see him, even if only an early iteration, in Season 1 of The Punisher, but it could have used more Spider-Man ice cream.
Man, if Tom Holland shows up and starts eating ice cream with Jigsaw, I'll just have a heart attack and die.
Yeah, it'd be great. Perfect.
And look, Spider-Man's made enough appearances and Punisher stuff over the years, and so
what is it? Carvel? That's what Tom Holland probably likes. Spidey with some Carvel.
Anything to have Fudgy the Whale in there. We all know that.
Get that a tie cake for Father's Day.
He'll enjoy it. So when we reviewed the first, I think we did 7 episodes initially.
I think we did 6.
6? Was it 6? All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're reviewing the second half, so that's the whole darn thing essentially here.
Yeah.
There 14 episodes for this one, so it was a big one. Now, I'll ask this right off the bat because I think we were all pretty good on board and everything here. Does this show need to be 14 episodes?
No.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. I like a lot of this show, and I'll kind of show my cards a little early. I enjoy this a lot. I think if this would have been 10, it almost would have been perfect. And because some of it is drawn out just a little bit, but I do like a lot of things that we'll do and that they do with it, especially towards the end, and we'll get into that, of course.
And they wedged in a couple of episodes that they easily could have excised, and it feels like they're just trying to stretch it out. And they had me, with Defenders, they shortened that. They said, you know what? We don't need every series to be 13 episodes. We're going to do 8 episodes. It's going to be great. This could have handled a little 8 episodes too. I thought since they did them so close together, maybe this one would also be shorter, but nope, it was the full 13.
Now, to their credit, I'll give them this. Each episode is not necessarily bang on in an hour. Like there's 55, there's 45-minute shows, so like they're a little all over the place, but not in a bad way. Yeah.
I'm looking here at the summary for episode 7 because I got like little notes from each episode, and it's like nothing really happened here. 8 a little bit happens. Like they could have easily squeezed a couple of these into one episode.
Frank tries to up his health care coverage.
They really do kind of like wedge in that whole subplot. I guess that might have been in the first part, but with the young guy that kind of starts becoming a mad bomber or whatever.
I don't know. I really like that, and I think that goes to really give the overall structure to this show and shows you that there are people that are similar to Frank, but obviously have gone down quite a separate path. If anything, I more enjoy that being in there than taken out.
Me too. Because it also goes to Frank's state of mind. That, yeah, this guy's nuts, but he could be crazier, and this is what that looks like.
And there's different ways to manifest, a psychotic thing. And we'll talk about it a little bit.
Well, it really felt to me like they're staring down the barrel and saying, uh-oh, we're getting to the end too quick. Let's go keep him occupied for a couple episodes.
Well, see, I think that's just because this show does, I think, have something to say about a lot of stuff. And I talked about it a little bit with the first half that we reviewed these things, is that this show has a lot to say about, about war veterans, about, violence and their depression and things of that nature and stuff that we as a society very often kind of just throw off and just go, it's a thing that's a...
And as Sean pointed out the last time we talked about this, they also try to push the boundaries of how explicitly graphic can you get with the Hubba Hubba stuff without getting too explicitly graphic with the Hubba Hubba stuff.
Yeah, well, that was one of the more bizarre things. Is this of all the Marvel shows, this one has the most getting down times, but is as PG as maybe PG-13 as you can get when it comes to that particular category.
For sure. It was
We'll show you
off-putting.
every angle but the one you want.
It was off-putting. It's the only time that I fast-forwarded through the series because, if I want to watch that stuff, I'll watch the real stuff.
It's just like it almost becomes it's one of those things where it's like if you don't get shown something, it's almost worse than being shown it because you're just going, well, where's the thing that's obviously the thing that I should be seeing? It seems like you're purposely hiding
thermometer?
it from me. Yes, thermometer. No. Good night, Bruce. But it just because we see violence aplenty in this movie. Aplenty. And, it just seems as in for a penny, in for a pound, says I, because this show is as mature audio, TVMA as you can possibly get, And I just go, look, why not go?
Like there's a weird thing that happens to people with their kids where and it happens more often than not, especially in a country founded by religious nut jobs. All the violence in the world is fine, but God forbid you see a boobie, and it really is amazing when you watch the show, because you see every manner of evisceration on the show. Yet,
yeah.
God forbid you see a pretty lady naked on screen, or some really, really handsome man's treasure, for lack of a better word.
His dragon lance is what I like to call it.
Oh, I love it. Dragon lance.
Bruce is writing more programs. All right. Well, there you go. So we come back from this, and now I forget exactly where this thing left off, because it's been a hot second since we left the last show. Bruce, do you have the actual get on point?
We kind of pick up right about the time that Billy Russo kills Madani's partner, and she doesn't know that he's who killed her partner. Right. She's a little worked up about it.
Oh, right.
So, and I kind of feel like at the halfway point, the audience knows unequivocally that Russo's a bad guy, but I feel like they're also trying to play it like we're not sure if he's a bad guy or not in this second half. It was a little, a little puzzling to me the way they handled Russo. Like, I think he should have made a harder turn quicker.
I don't know. I liked him kind of really just having that half in, half out sort of thing. I think we all kind of knew he was a bad guy, but I don't need mustache twirling.
Yeah, but I think we could have had him as the big bad. I feel like they kind of smeared their big bads out and together a little bit instead of having one that was identified a little bit better here. Okay. They definitely didn't have a kingpin here.
No, definitely not, and they needed it.
Yeah, I think that's where this one was a little lacking to me, because Jigsaw is the Punisher's big bad. So if you're going to put Jigsaw in it, you need to really lean into Jigsaw. And I felt like, and I, maybe I'm wrong, but I get the idea that Billy Russo's not exactly a household name. I think a lot of people watching this don't know that he's Jigsaw. You know what I mean? I think there's some people, even after his face got cut up, may not have made the connection. But I feel like they could have leaned into him being, the absolute super arch nemesis quicker than they did. With Luke Cage, they had the big turn at the mid-season where, can we spoil Luke Cage?
Spoilers for Luke Cage in the next 45 seconds.
Okay, well, the best actor in the show dies at the midpoint. A new villain shows up.
Right.
And I didn't like that move. I didn't like that pivot. And here, I feel like they had a way to have Billy Russo essentially die at the midpoint and Jigsaw show up for the second half. And I think I would have been into that.
I could see that.
I don't know if I'm down with the character Jigsaw. Not really. I never have been. But again, I wasn't ever a fan of the Punisher in the first place. Nope. Let me retract that. As I've said before, I like the Punisher as a side dish, not as the entree. And so having his rogues gallery, as it were, and I guess it's Jigsaw and Manucci, maybe?
That's about it. Yeah, Jigsaw and Manucci.
And that's about it, right? So, and the Russian, of course. The Russian's great. But that's basically it. And so you can only go so far with this character. So yeah, you can't, once you kill this character off, because if you're gonna have the split happen where he turns into proper Jigsaw in the middle of this season, then what are they gonna do for season 2? I mean, there's not a whole lot of places they can go.
Hey, that's when you bring in Paste Pot Pete.
Stilt Man.
Season 2 could all be about the ice cream cone, man.
Cardiac.
But they locked up Kingpin at the end of season 1 on Daredevil and still found a clever way to get him involved in season 2.
But the Punisher isn't locking anybody up, Bruce. The Punisher is straight up murdering people.
Well, he did let Jigsaw live, maybe.
Oh, I think he totally lived, because we saw him in the room. Yeah,
but they said they don't know if he'll survive, if he'll ever wake up from this coma. They were kind of trying to make us
I
shocked
bet
when
not.
he lives.
No, I think
I bet not. I bet he doesn't come back.
I bet Looney Bin Jim shows up out of nowhere, his long lost brother.
I love the the idea of he may totally remember everything. He may totally remember nothing. I kind of like that. It's so stupid and silly, but to me it works. It's like, okay, I dig what you're putting down.
One thing I like about the Punisher in the comics, and I'll argue and some people will disagree, but I think it even crosses over into the Marvel Knights and the Marvel Max imprint, but it mixes some of that extreme, gritty, jaw-dropping violence with still comic book elements. And I don't know that this show can make that pivot, because when when Jigsaw comes out of this, he is going to be a little wacko. He's going to be maybe a little touched in the head, sort of like a lightweight version of the Joker. And I just don't know how this show pivots with that in season 2.
I think that they don't do that. I think that they go the opposite way with it, where he turns into kind of like a Lex Luthor type character,
I think he gets more brutal, man. I think he's the anti-Punisher. I really do, because they kind of set that up. They're having their battle of sniper rifles and all this kind of stuff. I wouldn't even mind if he suddenly does pull out the inverted colors for a fight next season.
That's true.
I mean, I think he's going to become just as obsessed with Frank as Frank was obsessed with getting revenge for his family,
I think that's what it needs to kind of go, is like he's just kind of like Frank's moving on and everything, and then like as soon as he thinks he's out of the woods, boom, they pull him back in.
He's working at Baskin Robbins.
Baskin Robbins always finds out.
And I'm not the only one to make this comparison between Jigsaw and the Joker. Back in the good old days when DC and Marvel would have occasional crossovers, it was the Jigsaw and Joker teaming up against Batman and the Punisher.
Yeah,
I'd read that.
Yeah, but I just think that he comes out and I think that I would have liked to have had a couple of episodes of something that as a primary comic fan I could have latched onto a little bit, especially this ending, man. The brutality of the ending was so drawn out, and I would have liked to have kind of had the final confrontation all sort of go down in one place, but it has that the Return of the King kind of thing where it sort of ends and then it goes on again, then it kind of ends, and then it has a denouement.
I don't know that it's that bad, because you got to remember, it must have been a while, because, man, that movie truly is like fade down, wait, now fade up, because at least with this...
Well, this is like end credits. I'm like, what? There's 2 more episodes?
No, I'll grant you that. That like you do think that you are about to hit, and there is at least one more full episode, and you're like, oh, well, okay, we're really... All right.
And then, even after the showdown in the interrogation chamber with Rollins, then I totally didn't expect us to have this whole other sequence back at the merry-go-round.
Which I thought was really
carousel.
cool, and honestly, to me, is what kind of brings the whole season to a nice close there. And the fun with that is that, well, it's fun, but man, it gets brutal. Now, I want to talk about this. See if you guys kind of caught in on this one. Outside, so one of the biggest complaints, I guess, that we had at the beginning of the program is that, he's wearing the Punisher, the official Punisher outfit, if you will, with their skull and everything at the beginning of the show, because that's what we had at the end of Daredevil there. Yep. He's wearing that, and then he ditches it, and then he goes without that for a long time, and eventually, by the time we get around here to the second half, he dons it back for a while.
No, he puts it on for the final showdown. That's it.
There's a little bit before that, though, I think, but not by much. But by and large, here's the thing. I think that when he does that, and I think this is super smart, and I'd love for them to tell me that I'm wrong on this guess, is that when that is on, we are almost in comic book mode. So when he has that off, that's when we're getting the more serious kind of almost realistic to life sort of representations of guns and violence and everything. Once he puts that skull on, we get into honest to goodness comic book mode, to where instead of what he's doing is as brutal and horrifying as it is, somehow that skull almost gives us license to do whatever. And it feels like, not in a bad way, but it feels like this serious stakes are being taken away from us. Is that it's a little bit more light, and for some reason, with the skull on, you almost forgive him for doing the horrific, horrible things that he does while he's wearing that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man, because I just get thrown into such a weird place when we get that extended torture scene, where Rollins puts on his interrogation gloves, which, by the way, I need to get me a pair of those, because you don't actually have to use them. You just have to put them on and people start behaving around the house. But anyway, we have such a long, drawn out, brutal scene, a whole episode essentially of just nothing but gory abuse of Frank Castle, that it's hard for me to get back into any kind of comic book mode after that for the showdown with Jigsaw.
And I'll still say this, between Daredevil and this season, there hasn't been no one in the history of cinema who has taken more abuse than Frank Castle.
Yeah, I agree, man.
I don't think that exists. He's just a walking sack of hamburger meat. They rip him apart left and right, up and down, and all he needs is a good 25 minutes of a breathe down, and he's good to go. I've never seen anybody. You want to talk about Iron Man? This guy's a juggernaut.
Yeah,
he doesn't stop.
And a lot of people that don't share my point of view on the Punisher say they're trying to make it gritty and a little more realistic and real world, and those things you see in the comics, this is what it would look like in real life. But also, he's dead way before the end of the show in real life too.
Yeah, but I kind of like that too. I mean, because honestly, you're right. It's not realistic in as much as, yes, he definitely would be dead. But from a visual standpoint, and you got to have it at that because that's how these movies go. But in a regular movie, he gets beaten this bad, but he doesn't look this bad. It doesn't feel this bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that this show does, is it shows it has the visceral level that none of these other shows really have. Like even, more hardcore kind of stuff, it just doesn't get in there and makes you feel like, he's literally just coughing up blood 24/7.
And I was pretty happy for Microchip. We haven't talked much about him so far in this second half discussion, but I did kind of like some aspects of how Microchip's little game went down against the Anvil folks or whatever, when the trade-off's supposed to happen and he fakes the death and everything. I like that, man. I kind of saw it coming. I know some people may not have liked it, but I like the way that whole thing went down with Microchip getting to finally reunite with his family and then talk to Madani and sort of help some things get moving in the right direction for the end.
I thought that was really good. I like that character, and I like how he's portrayed here, and all the pieces for this. Here's the thing. You've got a lot of chess pieces on the board, right? And you've got to put them in the right order and get them in the right way and play the game just right, showing the audience just enough, keeping just enough behind the curtain, and play back and forth with that. And they do it masterfully well in this. I was really surprised at how well all the beats play. Some of them may play a little bit long over a couple of episodes, but for the most part, they still kind of they keep it enough of a clip, and you keep interested. I mean, I know, Sean, you said that you went through this thing in like what, 1-2 sittings or something like that.
It was one sitting. It was one day, and it's unlike the other Netflix shows. It looks different. It feels different, and they needed that desperately because Defenders just felt like something we had seen over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And this show is it casts a wider net. It doesn't look the same. There was a whole lot of Punisher during the daytime in this show. There's not it's not always nighttime. He's not always in Microchip's little information womb. There's a lot going on in this show that we haven't seen very much of for the Marvel Netflix series. And I think that's what they need to start doing more of. And I know that a lot of people like the hallway fights
I was going to ask you to correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't have enough hallway fights in this one, did they?
I thought they had the right amount.
Yeah.
But there, and there's something about Barenthal also, which I was surprised by, because every single time we've seen him act previously, he always has that real nut job moment, you know, where you're like, oh, this guy's unhinged. And it's the Bruce Willis spitting on the ground. It's the Denzel Washington laughing while angry. You know, it's like that whole. They all do that. Like, you know, your little bit. And Barenthal didn't rely on his usual tricks that he does in the performances that I've seen him in. Maybe, I mean, I haven't seen all of his work, but every time I've seen him, there's a couple of moments where you're like, oh, that's the same dude from Walking Dead. And that didn't happen during this entire series. And, you know, he is so captivating as Frank. I think that from this point forward, because I believe that the show is this well done. I think that this is the person people are going to have in their mind when they think of the Punisher. I think it's going to be Barenthal from this point forward.
Man, I just looked something up that surprised me, because I was going to ask how old John Barenthal is, because he acts like he's about my age, and I think he's like acting way older than he is. But the dude's 41, man. So he's earned that ugly mug of his. So I was going to kind of maybe poke a little bit at him for trying to pretend to be older than he is. But man, he's absolutely the right age for how he's playing this character.
Yeah, I would have put him in his early 40s. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking he's like a 30-year-old that just has a grizzled face.
Boy, you've been living hard. You've been looking like John Barenthal at 30.
Yeah, because, you know, there's some of the things when he still has the long hair and the beard, and the lady at the diner goes, we don't usually get hipsters in here. And he goes, you still don't. Give me some coffee.
Put my face to a meat grinder.
Something I would say.
You know, he's there's just something correct about Barenthal in this role, where I don't like the actor very much. I don't like the character all that much, but these two things together work for me. And I know that you were disappointed in this series, Bruce. I mean, you've pretty much stated as much for both these episodes, and I still think that it's probably a mistake to keep moving forward with the Punisher. I think they at best got away with something with this, you know, with this season of the Punisher, because I can't imagine that they're going to be able to keep it at the same level that they were for this first season. They had a lot of great ideas. There's a lot of, you know, like I know we keep talking about Frank getting the crap beat out of him, but there's stuff that like you never think of with the Punisher, where, you know, just things like, hey, where does that guy eat? You know, like stuff like that. And they, and you know, they have that, the nice little diner touches with this show. And I find it a lot more interesting than I thought I would. And I think that's why I like it so much, is that I did not expect to like this at all. I thought that this was probably going to be the weakest one. And oddly, when we first heard about the Marvel Netflix series, the thing I was most looking forward to was seeing how they would handle Iron Fist, because everything up until that point had been pretty great. I mean, the second half of Luke Cage was a little weak, but that first half is amazing. And so yeah. I couldn't wait to see Iron Fist, and it's awful. It's just awful. And so they needed to have something a little different, and that's the Punisher for sure. And they got it. And it's the first time in a very long time that I can think of where I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe the Punisher. Maybe we need to see a little more of the Punisher. And but I still think it's a mistake to bring him into a second season.
Yeah, I don't know where they take it, man. And one of the problems too for me is kind of like real world violence and real world, realistic violence, realistic use of guns and explosions and stuff. Not that exciting, man. It's more just like chaotic and depressing. And I think I just felt a lot of depression watching this. It was just some really depressing stuff to deal with. And it didn't really have like a redeeming moment at the end. It's still just kind of, man, everything still kind of sucks, even though the good guy won.
What do you want? Do you want the Punisher to have a town parade?
Man, I've seen Punisher endings that give me more satisfaction. Punisher endings and the Ray Stevenson Punisher movie left me with what I consider a satisfying ending.
You know what I'd really like to see? I'd like to see that one story arc. That's the word. That's the word I'm looking for. The phrase I'm looking for. I'd like to see that one story arc where Frank becomes an African American man. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
Have you guys ever seen that?
Oh man, that was a very misguided story arc.
We often talk about it on the Film Fund, actually.
What an insane story arc. That's what they need to do. They need to make Frank a black guy.
You get to learn a lesson. You get to learn a life lesson. I mean, come on.
They did the same thing for Lois Lane years before.
They did, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I remember something about that.
The Soul Man treatment to the Punisher. That's what they need. And which makes sense because C. Thomas Howell is in the Punisher.
Frank Castle needs to get on a basketball team in college.
Okay, man. Madani. Let's talk some more about Madani. Now that we've seen the whole season, we've seen her complete character arc. I feel like Madani was a little bit of a missed opportunity to introduce somebody that could have been a cool figure, like a Misty Knight level cool figure in the Netflix universe. And I feel like she didn't quite hit that mark, man. How do you guys feel about Madani?
I feel like the second season could be her time to shine. Because
she just took a bullet to the head, though. I mean,
well, then that's my point. She's got to get in for a penny, in for a pound at this point. Now she's gotten to a level by the
more
end.
Wacko than Jigsaw at the end.
She's gotten to the end at this point to where she knows who he is. She knows what he's doing, and of course, she's going to be on that I got to get the Punisher route, just as long as she can. But if she'd have gone halfway through the season and been like, "I'm on your side now, buddy," I wouldn't have bought that. But this one, with what they've gone through and what he's done and what she's seen him do and the relationship between the two, I buy her coming into that role a little bit more in season 2.
Man, and how about this? Like in Smoking the Bandit 3, which I love to mention, where Jerry Reed drove the car instead of Burt Reynolds. How about in season 2, they have Lady Punisher. Madani becomes the Punisher and chases down Jigsaw.
I think the only way to open season 2 is you have Frank in jail.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
It's the only thing that really makes any sense at all. And maybe the storyline can go one of two ways. It's either him breaking out of jail or him being almost like a Hannibal Lecter type character.
Or they could have him passing through some town in like Oregon or Washington State where the local redneck sheriff just gives him a really hard time and finds out that he's more than he bargained for.
Oh, man, like First Blood. Man, that would be really great, actually.
That plot sounds awful familiar. Would Brian Dennehy also be in this movie?
If they're doing it right, yes.
But that would be good, man. It would be good. I could see this Barenthal Punisher doing that movie, which is a very Punisher-like movie in a lot of ways. Very different from its sequels, of course.
No, you're right. Honestly, that could be a big... That wouldn't ultimately First Blood kind of thing wouldn't be a bad route for him to go down.
I mean, you have to start looking at Frank Castle the way you look at the Hulk. Like Frank Castle is just trying to stay out of trouble, but trouble keeps finding him, and he gets to the point where, and I'm talking, the Bill Bixby Hulk, where he's like, "Don't make me angry. You won't like me when I'm angry." Like we need to see Frank just being picked on, kind of like he was at the beginning of this, where they all thought he was a little touched in the head, and then finally he can't take it anymore, and then he breaks bad on people. I like that better than watching him get tortured. I think we also
got that this season.
Yeah, but let's see more of that. That I can get into. I didn't like seeing him just taking that horrible torturing from Rollins there.
What a long way this show came from when he's breaking down walls with a hammer and everyone thinks he's slow to where it ends. Yeah. What a very, very long road this character took in this series.
See, I like that because half the time we don't have character journeys. No one goes from anywhere. They start one way, they end only maybe slightly different. And this, we had a full giant character arc for this.
He kind of went into a circle, though. I mean, you say he went into the character circle, not the character arc, because he starts off where he succeeded at getting his vengeance. He has a new identity, and he's just going to lay low. And he ends this with he's got his vengeance and a new identity, and he's just going to lay low.
Well, coming full circle still better than, coming 10 degrees. Ooh, bam! Put that on the sticker.
I like 114 degrees. That's what I look for in my character arc.
I don't want them going no further. But I think
things have to be the same.
Oh man, I miss the good old days of network TV where nothing really important could happen in an episode that wasn't corrected by the end.
Ever.
Like The Simpsons, we will never speak of Principal Skinner again.
I'm sorry. All right, I won't get into it. I'll go down the line. So
anyway,
here's the thing. I also want to say this. This is something that I was glad that they did throughout the entire season. Obviously, they don't need. I want to stress this very much so. They don't need to do it anymore. We're done, and I think that they capped it off the right way. But I love Frank's origin story mixed throughout this entire thing. I really like it. I thought it was done artfully very, very well from the beginning where, you know, it didn't go down like this, but he's in the bed with his wife and everything. The guy comes in, shoots her in the head. Later on, you know, we find out that the person who came in the room was actually in this kind of flashback memories, sort of crazy quasi whatever, was him. So he blames himself for this actually happening and everything, all the way down to the crazy, you know, ethereal black and white and no, not black and white. Maybe there was some black and white there, but the dancing and stuff and all of the. I love all that, and it's something that we've never seen before, and I think that's probably the best way that we've ever told the origin story of the Punisher.
I guess. All that origin story.
I guess it looked pretty and stuff. Whatever.
All that origin story flashback stuff gets mixed in with his weird flashbacks of mommy-daddy time with his wife while he's getting tortured, which was kind of off-putting to me. So I kind of lump all that together, maybe unfairly. And I don't know. I felt like this is one of those situations where I felt like I knew his origin pretty well, and the new take didn't affect me much.
But that's what's coming into there. That's why he's get the beating and stuff, and then the eventually, and which makes me think that they won't do anything like this for season 2, is the, you know, he's getting the chance to literally kind of cross over, if you will, and like, hey, you know, you've reached the end of your rope here. You can come with me. And he just goes, this is not where I belong. I'm going back out there. He's let that go now. I thought the symbolism was great.
Yeah, I think season 2, he needs like a 10-year-old girl sidekick, like a Punky Brewster type that says, from now on, no killing. Remember, you know, kind of like Terminator 2.
So
no
that's
killing.
Just Terminator 2.
But yeah, I did like the part where, you know, you see that strange person coming in and killing his family. Then he finally breaks Darth Vader's face, and it's his own face underneath the helmet or whatever. I did like that. Very original.
Yeah, it's good. Like I said, like there's just something about how this thing is done, and I love the end sequence there on the carousel and everything. Again, another cool original kind of idea that you don't really see. I love the taking the two workers there and stringing them up, bleeding them out and everything to get Frank in there, to also show you at the same time Frank is not just somebody who just goes, we'll just let him die, whatever, who cares. You know, he is somebody who cares about, you know, people that are outside of his little, you know, purview there and everything.
It may be weird that we can live in a time where I say this, but I felt like I've seen enough of Frank Castle and the carousel. Like it's almost getting to the level of Martha Wayne's Pearls. You know, do we?
Yeah, you're not wrong, man. That's
because I've seen how many different people have I seen lose their crap over that carousel now? Like, I'm done with the carousel, man. At least make it a roller coaster if they ever reboot it again.
But they've done it. Well, that's the thing. At this point, I think they're done. I think they're done for a good long while here with that, and it works. And it is. It's like when he goes down and just destroys Billy, it is a visceral. It is hardcore. They don't lean back on that at all. I think it's.
Yeah, that is pretty good there. And there was a part of me that still, like, you know, I don't know. Once again, it's hard for me to gauge. Like, how do you guys think? Do you guys think people know that Billy Russo's Jigsaw?
No.
No, I didn't know.
Because for me, it's like Daredevil season 1. I keep waiting to see Daredevil put on the stinking costume, and he does it in the last episode. But at least we get to see it for an extended fight sequence. I'm watching this from the minute I hear this is Billy Russo. from the minute I see how this is going, I'm waiting to see his face revealed as Jigsaw. And we don't get it the whole season.
That's great. We in a world where we're shown things way too early and everybody just wants to get things going, don't be DC, be Marvel.
I don't know, man. I wanted to see Jigsaw's face.
You're not going to convince him otherwise.
Especially, at the time I'm watching it, there's no guarantee of a season 2. So I'm like, if I sat through all this and I don't even get one gander at what their effects department is going to interpret Jigsaw's face to look like, I'm going to be very disappointed. Because I have high hopes that they're going to do for Jigsaw's appearance, kind of like what Nolan and Ledger did for Joker's. I kind of want to see this cool looking Jigsaw and not this goofy rubber mask Jigsaw that we had from the last movie that had Jigsaw in it.
No, I think he's going to be just like, look, this show doesn't shy away from gross stuff, so I think he's just going to be mangled beyond belief, and it's going to be sweet.
He's going to look like an Iron Maiden cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe they'll go down the Dr. Doom route where he's still incredibly handsome, but he has a small scar below his cheek, and he goes, I'm hideous now.
I don't know, because there were a couple of those where I was just like, oh, is he just going to get shot in the face? And I'm like, okay, well, okay. Oh my. Oh, that's going to leave. Yeah, he's doomed.
Yeah, I am curious, I guess, to see where they go with Madani, but I just felt like I expected something cool out of Madani that I didn't quite get.
I don't think she's
I was all amped up to pull for her, and it just never happened.
I like that character. I mean, I think the actress is kind of off for that role, but I do like the character. I think that she's a good counterbalance to Frank. That she's working inside the law to basically do the same thing. I think it's a neat concept, and it's. I mean, she really is the opposite version of the Punisher. And it wasn't pulled off 100%. But I thought it was. I like that character. Is that character from the comics, or is that cut out of whole cloth?
Whole cloth, new character, from the best I can tell. But I do like, the idea she's been shot in the head. This head wound is going to make it so, for whatever reason, she's not going to get her job back in law enforcement. So she's going to have to find a way. If she wants to continue to pursue justice, she's going to have to ask herself questions about, maybe I am a little more cool with vigilantes than I thought I was.
Well, I like her whole basic take of everything is like, at the same time, she goes like, it's heat light, if you will. She's just like, look, I'm letting you go, but I want you to know right now, I'm going to find you. I'm going to find you. I'm going to get you. I'm going to take you down. I don't care. It's like, I'm letting you off the hook this one time because it's only going to be advantageous for both you and me. But after this, we ain't friends no more. I'm coming after you, so watch it. I like that.
And at one point in the comic books, didn't Microchip become a cyborg or something? I could go for that in season 2. I want a little more comic book in season 2.
You just want someone to be a cyborg in everything. That's just been your goal since day one, and we all know it.
Yeah, I want a cyborg turtle on Ninja Turtles. I'm looking forward to that in part 3.
Oh boy, Sean front row.
Oh man, I can't wait.
In IMAX.
Yeah, I have not one but 2 Casey Jones figurines on my shelf right now.
Hey man, one can dare to dream, can't they?
I don't know, Wen. Any other things here to talk about? I feel like we kind of covered the big characters. Do we want to talk more about that torture scene, about that performance out of that actor that plays Rollins? Man, he got into it. Do you guys understand the gloves? I'm not sure I know. Do they have like really, really rough Velcro on them or something? What makes them so good for torture?
Here's the thing. But here's what I kind of got out of it was that he was a guy like, back in their military times and everything. This guy was not a grunt. This was a guy that went out and did his
absolutely.
stuff. So in order to protect his sensitive hands, he's going to put on those gloves because he doesn't want his hands getting all messed up and all this other jazz. And it's a symbol of power for him to be able to put those on, and it makes him feel like a big man, Gets into it. And
I gotta say, I did get a little giddy when he acted like he was going to cut out Frank's eye, because of the 3 of us, I'm probably the only one who's cut out human eyes.
That's true. This is very.
Let's never speak of this again.
It's far more complicated than they made it look on the show.
And then you just don't pop it out with a spoon?
Yeah, I mean, you got to sever the nerve. You got to cauterize the nerve.
Please.
But it finally got me. I was like, okay, here's torture I can at least look at analytically. But then he never got around to pursuing.
You know what we need to do, Bruce? You and I, we need to break this. We need to break down the scene in Hostel Part 1 with the blowtorch. Let's do that.
Oh, terrible scene.
Because I think the fans need to know what's real and what's not. But no, he's great in the role, and I love how he just man, oh man, does he just beat the snot out of him. And I love I love the end where we just go through, and I'm taking both eyes. And that's how you just. Is there enough in there where we can kill somebody with just ripping their eyeballs out of the socket?
Yeah, if you did it wrong.
Okay,
and it might be a slow death. It's not going to be instant death, but yeah.
Not just shaking feet and then he's boop, there he goes, he's out. But I did
shaking feet.
Give me a little shaking feet on that death, and we're good. Cut. Moving on.
And you know, when lobotomies were all the craze, those were done through the orbit. So I mean, it's pretty easy to lobotomize somebody while you're there taking their eye out.
I'm literally about to pass out.
It's the lobotomy craze. Here are the 1800s. Come on down and get yourself a lobotomy and stick it on your way out.
Pretty much one psychiatrist that made a big deal out of lobotomies for about 15 years, and then he went away.
Hey, I enjoy the Ramones song, so there you go. But I like that character. I like how Microchip has these backup plans and everything, being able to broadcast and stuff. Like I said, man, this whole show is about chess pieces, putting stuff out, putting things in the right place, and I think it pulls it off well.
I did too.
I like how you say it's about chess pieces, but to me, I feel like it's more that moment where you stand up and flip over the chessboard.
But that's the end of the game, though. But yeah, I like the kids. The kids are actually pretty realistic as far as kids go.
Yeah. Kid takes a knife to school. That was a touching little moment where Frank had to try to be a dad.
And, you know, the kids, they don't necessarily, you know, they don't know how to react to certain situations and things. And, you know, it rung true to me. So,
Sean, tell me true. Did you ever take a knife to school when you were a kid?
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. I had a sweet butterfly knife, man.
I didn't have a butterfly knife, but I took a knife.
I took knives. I took Chinese throwing stars to school. I mean, I had all kinds of stuff.
I still carry a throwing star if I'm in a sketchy part of town. I mean, I'm not stupid.
The difference is Bruce also announces that they're Chinese throwing stars as he throws them. He just goes, Chinese throwing star.
I go, step back. I've got a Chinese throwing star. Says so right here, made in China. You know how those were never sharpened either when you bought them?
I do. And I know that I sharpened mine.
I would sharpen one prong and hope for the best if I ever needed it.
It's the Russian roulette of Chinese stars. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we have come to the end of this here program, but before we get to our rating system, we have to go back and figure out how this thing connects to the one, the only Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I happen to have a prepared statement that I threw together at the last minute.
Whoa, okay.
As far back as 1986, rumors started circulating that Marvel was looking to make a Punisher movie. It was going to be big, and it was going to be expensive, and it was going to be stupid. So immediately, the name of countless pasta dishes in restaurants in New York, Sylvester Stallone, got thrown around. Keep in mind, this is during a time when Stallone was ruining everything he touched. Cobra, Over the Top, Rambo 3, Lockup, Tango and Cash, Rocky 5. Yikes. Imagine throwing a Punisher movie in there. If you thought he screwed up Judge Dredd, think about Stallone wearing those white gloves and boots. Come on, man.
Stallone loved it.
Stallone demanding that the Punisher wears Ray-Bans all the time. Why is he driving an IROC? Weightlifting gloves for no reason. My God, man. My God, the Punisher movie that would have been made then. I'd like to see Stallone as the Punisher now. Old man Punisher, that's the best Punisher. Sad old man driving his motorcycle through the sewers. Now that's your movie. And there you have it, HMPers. This week's Stallone connection. Now, Mr. Bad Wrench and Chet Scully, two terrible Punisher villains. Let's review this series so we can start talking about Inhumans Season 2.
All right. Here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. If you'd like to see what that is, go to facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. It's right there at the top of the screen. And while you're there, why don't you throw a like up on that page? We'd really appreciate it. Bruce, where does The Punisher Season 1 fall on the patented Robin rating system for you, sir?
Man, I just can't say how much I love this show.
What?
No, just kidding. There's just too much gore at the end. It was needless, I thought. You kind of showed my hand a little bit when you talked about Hostel, because I felt like Eli Roth directed the finale. It was just too much for me. I give it a Damian Wayne because I know some people will really be into it, but it's just not for me.
Fair enough. Keenan, what do you got?
I'm giving it a low-end Tim Drake. Netflix needed a win with their Marvel properties, and I think that this is it. You know, this is as good as The Punisher is ever going to get, in my opinion. I think that there's going to be a gaggle of teenage boys who think that this version of The Punisher is the coolest of all the Punishers. So it's a low-end Tim Drake for me.
I'm just going to go Tim Drake straight on, right there in the middle. I thought it was pretty good. Again, you're right. I think this is the best that we've ever seen The Punisher. It was far better than we probably deserve in a lot of ways, especially considering how some of these things go. It's gotten a Season 2, so what they do with Season 2, who's to say? But, it could be good. We don't know.
All carousel.
All carousels all the time. That's what I say, and that is honestly what the people demand. You know what else the people demand? The people will also demand that you guys go down to the iTunes, give us a 5-star review, a.k.a. a humdinger.
Humdinger.
We really appreciate everybody that goes and does that. And, of course, the people that support us over at patreon.com/HMP. There they get pre-show, post-show, extra stuff. I mean, for heaven's sake, this year's Stan Lee read you 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. I mean, how much better can you get than that, ladies and gentlemen? Not very much, I tell you that. In the meantime, though, we don't know what we're reviewing next week. But in the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
Hey, 2018, it's a whole new year, but it's the same old great book, Nerdspawn Genesis. It's the book you ought to be reading, guys. Do you think anybody got Kindles for Christmas?
I would think a great many would do it. Why was I going into that weird sort of odd expectation?
Take it from Elmer Fudd, folks. You want to read Nerdspawn Genesis on your new Christmas Kindle. You got some Amazon gift cards. Why not check out Nerdspawn Genesis? It's awesome superhero action comedy starring the three of us along with Little Steel and some bad guys, and it's way better than Punisher, so go check it out on Amazon. Nerdspawn Genesis.
I'm still going to be recovering from my apparent stroke, Keenan.
I've got something that is not on the internet. You can find my work on television. I have a TV movie coming out called Dolly and Otto. It is based on a true story, which is a lady she's married, she is well-to-do, and she keeps a man in her attic that as her boyfriend, her live-in boyfriend. Secretly keeps the entire thing from her husband. Somebody murders her husband, and they have to figure out who done did it. It's an insane story. And it's based on real life, but
love it.
Do yourself the favor, watch the movie as much as you can, and then look it up on the internet to see what the people actually look like from the story. It is so amazing. And also I have a show that I've been working on for the past 5 months. Why I have been sporadic in me being here on HMP, my first love, HMP. I've been working on a soap opera for BET called The Quad, and if you want to see,
is that a 4-part series? Boom!
It is. That is terrific. It is. If you want to see what the young kids talk about, watch that show. And that's what I have been doing for the last bunch of months here. For the last 6 months, that has been the work I have been doing.
I've been dressing up as Steve Buscemi and going around goes, "Hey kids, what's the haps, cool kids?" But you can check me out over at the Film Find at thefilmfind.com. New release reviews every single week. And over at Nerd Talk now, I'm going to be talking Star Wars, man. Star Wars The Last Jedi. It's all over the place. Some people love it. Some people hate it. I happen to enjoy it quite a bit. So I'm going to do a big, long show where I lecture people on how wrong they are and why they're wrong, because, frankly, it's what I do.
So it's just like talking to you in real life.
Yeah, pretty much.
What works? Your forte.
Now you can go and do it on the internet, huh? It's just like being a friend of mine in real life. So if you'd like to know what that's like, check it out at nerdtalknow.com.
I want to start marketing an Adam Portrais Magic 8 Ball, but every time you shake it, it just says, no, you're wrong.
I approve. I'll sign that box. Thank you very much. So that is it, everybody. We're not sure what we're doing this week, the next week here, but check us out, man. We may do some.
Yeah, let's do the Runaways.
Fine. We're discovering it now. We're doing some Runaways episodes. So check us out next week. Until then, for Sean Keenan, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.